Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Kamari and I am going to tell you all about my labor and delivery story. I wanted to go ahead and make this my first video because it just seemed right, okay? So I am going to tell you all how my beautiful princess right here came into the world. Sorry about that, I had to go ahead and put baby girl down. I went ahead and wrote a few points down on my phone because I cannot remember all of those things. Being a mom, my memory is like, so yeah. So I had a doctor's appointment on January 17th at 8:15 a.m. It was to meet a high-risk doctor because I had preeclampsia. If you don't know what preeclampsia is, it's pretty much when your blood pressures go to extremes during your pregnancy. So I pretty much went to a high-risk doctor so that I could see if I was going to go ahead and get induced. I knew I was going to be induced, I just wasn't sure when. So I went to the doctor that morning and I realized that my blood pressure was high while the nurse was taking my blood pressure. So I'm like, okay, I hope they don't induce me today, but whatever, you know. So I get in the room, it's me and my boyfriend, and the doctor's like, so your blood pressure's high and you are having these headaches. So we're going to induce you today. And I'm like, today, right now. So I ended up having to go straight over to labor and delivery. My boyfriend went home to grab all of my things and I knew I was getting induced, but I was still in shock. The thing about pregnancy is that you can't really plan it, and I'm the type of person that always has to plan things, so that was just stressing me out. But the good thing was that I knew I was getting induced, so I was pretty much about to have a baby. I was in labor and delivery. They put me in triage. Triage is pretty much where you pretty much wait. They check your vitals before you go into the labor and delivery room. So I was in triage for about 3 hours, or maybe like 4 hours at this point. I don't even know because, again, I was there at 8:15. Mind you, I hadn't ate that whole time. So when I got to triage, I'm like, can I please eat? Can I please eat? And they were pretty much like, no, you can't eat right now. You can't eat right now. So I stayed in triage for about 4 hours. They finally transferred me to labor and delivery. I'm in labor and delivery and they're like, so your induction is being put on hold. I was brought to labor and delivery and at this point I still had not eaten, and they told me that my induction was on hold to see if they could pretty much stop my headaches. Why are you looking at me? That's weird.
You recording?
Yes, I'm talking to the camera.
They can hear me?
If the camera can hear me, it can hear you.
Hope they don't see my feet.
It's in my face. You interrupted my labor and delivery story.
Girl dads rock.
So anyway, I'm in labor and delivery and I still hadn't eaten. It's like 5-6 o'clock. I find out my induction is being put on hold to see if my headaches can go away because the doctors in labor and delivery, they didn't want to induce me. I was 36 weeks and 4 days. So pretty much I will be 37 weeks on the following Tuesday. And at 37 weeks was around the time that they wanted to induce me anyway. So I finally get permission to eat my last meal, that I call it, before I gave birth. And if you're from Chicago, you already know I had an Italian beef with hot peppers and cheese fries. Which is probably not the best meal to eat, but I was just starving. And also that was one of my pregnancy cravings. So I ate that. I was content. The high-risk doctor came back in and she's like, so you have two options. You can either get induced today, or you can go ahead and go home. And she pretty much was telling me, like, I think you should get induced today, because if the headache keeps coming back and you come back in, then we're going to induce you. So I'm like, well, I might as well get induced, because I'm not going to keep coming back to the hospital, you know. Every time I get a headache, and preeclampsia is something that can go from one extreme to the next. Like, 1 minute you can feel fine, the next minute you can have headaches and see stars and just all types of crazy stuff. So in order for me not to get sick, I'm like, let me just get induced. They go ahead and they start my induction. They put the what is that? The medicine to start your contractions. Hold on, let me Google, because I forgot. Excuse me. Alright, so they went ahead and started me on these medications. I had already been taking Tylenols and ibuprofens for my headache I was having. On top of that, they gave me magnesium, and they give magnesium to preeclampsia patients so that you don't have seizures during your induction. And then they gave me the Pitocin to kickstart my contractions. So up to this point, I had never truly felt a real contraction. So I'm telling you, like, they gave me the Pitocin. 2 minutes later, just started working. I started feeling contractions, and I'm like, oh, Mom, I feel something. Mom, I feel something. It hurts. But I was laughing, and those are the contractions. And they started to get worse and worse and worse. You know, I tried to be, you know, a G and be tough and not take. I'm like, I don't need any medication. Every time the nurse came in, I'm like, I don't need any medicine. Don't give me any medicine. I'm fine. So the nurse came in about 2 hours later. She's like, do you want some medicine in your IV, or do you want to start your epidural? You know, there's no wrong time to start your epidural, which I did not know. So, excuse me. So I'm like, no, I don't need it. I don't need it. And then she walks away, and I'm like, I felt a contraction, and it hurt so bad. Like, if you never felt a contraction before, it's like, a contraction is like a towel, just like being wrung, but like that's inside your stomach. Or your uterus. My bad, not your stomach, your uterus. So I'm like, oh my God, like I screamed, and I'm like, yeah, you can go ahead and give me the epidural, bring the epidural. So it took them about 30 to 45 minutes to go ahead and give me the epidural, and it was pretty quick. I didn't really feel any pain. You don't see anything when you're getting the epidural done, so that's good. They just talk you through it pretty much. So once I got the epidural, I was like, oh my God, like, that was amazing. I was like, whew, I don't feel any pain. I don't feel these contractions. This might be too much information, but they do have to give you a catheter when you have the epidural, because you can't get up. So they put the catheter on. I couldn't feel myself use the bathroom. I couldn't feel anything. So while the lady is putting the catheter on, I feel something fall out of my vagina area. And I tell her, like, you know, something fell out, something fell out. And she's like, no, it didn't. I'm like, yes, it did. So she checked, and pretty much what fell out was the water balloon they put inside of me to help me dilate. So once that fell out, I was pretty much 5 centimeters dilated. At this point, it's around, it's pretty early. I honestly, like, during birth, like, you cannot keep track of time. Like, I do not remember anything, like, time-wise, except for when she was actually born. So I would say that this probably happened at around 12 o'clock. The water balloon fell out. So then, you know, the next couple hours go by, I'm noticing my contractions are getting stronger because I'm pressing the button for epidural. And at a certain point, the epidural just stopped working. Like, I kept pressing it, and I was in pain, and it wasn't really pain, I should say. It just, I felt pressure. I felt a lot of pressure. So at this point, I'm like, okay, it's around 5 o'clock in the morning. At this point, I had no sleep at all. And the person who did my epidural comes in, and he's like, okay, we're going to adjust your medicine around this time is when you need it. Also, I had got checked, and I was 7 centimeters dilated at this point. So he's adjusting my medicine, and I'm like, oh my God, Mom, I have to go to the bathroom. And I have footage of it, so I'll insert it somewhere on the screen on the side. But it was funny. It's like I wasn't crying, I was just laughing and yelling and whatever. So I'm telling the guy, like, oh my God, like, the baby is about to come now, she's coming now. And he was basically saying, like, oh, they just checked you, you were 7 centimeters dilated. And the crazy part is, all of this happened within like 15 minutes of each other. The doctors come in, they pretty much say, okay, you're about to have a baby, you're 10 centimeters dilated. And from there, I began to push. Itchy. I pretty much pushed her out within like 15 minutes. It was really, really quick, to be honest. I did 4 sets of 3 pushes, and she just came into the world. At 6:11 a.m., Avani Marie was born at 6 pounds, 1 ounce. And it was just honestly a crazy feeling. I was like, wow, I just pushed this baby out. She is here. But she came out and they cleaned her off and stuff. They brought her to me and they wanted me to breastfeed her. And they asked me, did I need help? But the funny part is, Avani Marie literally just latched on, like, instantly, no help, anything. And it was crazy. And also, after I pushed her, I'm still sitting there because, you know, they have to stitch you up and all of this stuff. My mom is walking one way crying, my boyfriend is walking one way crying. I'm looking at them confused, I'm like, why are you walking away? And then I'm crying, and it was very, very, very overwhelming, but very, very, very happy. Overall, my labor process was 10 hours. So for me to be induced, that was pretty short. The doctors and nurses and everyone was very surprised that it took like a short time, but once they started the induction, everything just sort of kick-started in me. Normally inductions are 24 to 48 hours, so I was so glad that was not the case for me, because I probably would have went crazy. I hate staying in hospitals. I stayed in the hospital, so I was there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I left Tuesday. Yeah, I left Tuesday afternoon. I had to stay an extra day since I did have preeclampsia. They wanted to make sure that, you know, my headaches were going away. I wasn't having blurry vision or anything of that nature. So the extra day was for me. So now that I pretty much told the whole story, I'm just going to check my phone to see if I missed any points, because, you know, labor and delivery is a lot. Alright, so I have just a list of questions that people ask me all the time. So the first one is, did it hurt? Obviously, labor is going to hurt. I do have a high pain tolerance, and on top of that, I did have an epidural. So for me, it was more so uncomfortable and just a lot of pressure. Honestly, the recovery and postpartum was probably worse than the actual labor and delivery itself. Second one, did you tear? I did tear. They did give me stitches. They healed pretty fast though. Probably within like the 2 weeks they healed and everything went back to normal. 3, did they let you film? So at my particular hospital where I gave birth, they don't let you film the birth, but you do get to, you know, take pictures and film like before and after the birth. What was the hardest part of labor? overall, just the hardest part to me was probably just waiting. Because even though it was 10 hours, it still was very long. I couldn't really sleep. I was sleep deprived. Like, pretty much the whole time I was in the hospital, including recovery, I was sleep deprived. So that probably was the hardest part. The actual labor went pretty smooth for me. Let's see what other questions. I already answered that. Who was in the room with you? So I just had my mom and my boyfriend in the room with me. They only let you have 3 people, I believe, in labor and delivery. His mom couldn't make it because there was a pretty bad snowstorm the night that I went into labor. So that was funny. Did you poop during labor? I did not poop during labor. I didn't go to the bathroom. Even though I ate an Italian beef with cheese fries, I did not go to the bathroom. And I think it's a misconception that people like poop when going to labor. Like some people do, but I mean, me personally, I feel like if you're hungry, you're hungry. I know at the hospital after, like once I was in, like officially induced, they had me on a clear liquid diet up until I gave birth, which was pretty much water, ice, chicken broth, Jello. Luckily, I didn't have to eat any of that stuff because I gave birth overnight. So that was cool for me. So that sums up my labor and delivery story. I hope you all took something from this and learned something from it. Remember that everyone's labor and delivery process is different. This was just my personal experience. This is not set in stone for all labor and deliveries. Make sure you all subscribe and like this video. I do have way more content planned for you all, and this is definitely only the beginning for my channel. So bye and see you in my next video.